It's full time.
Hello and welcome to Full Time. I'm Shane Crawford and we are going to get straight into it. Another great weekend of AFL football. I'm going to go all the way to the Gold Coast and I'm joined by the best roving reporter in the land. Don't worry about Stenaway or Jones. This man is number one, Ayrton Woolley. How are you, mate?
Going very well, thank you, Crawford. Lucky Tony Jones is not watching this one. I think he'd take exception.
No, you've gone past him. Don't you worry about that.
Just like Christian Petrarca and Dusty. What do you reckon?
Hey, Petrarca in very good form. The number one player in the land at the moment this year. You got to put in this year, not in the land over the last 10 years.
Yeah, you certainly set tongues wagging during the week, Crawford. But just on the Gold Coast, I know you've been on my back about it being all about sunbaking and pina coladas and all that sort of stuff. But how about this over the past few days? It's actually been raining for the past 3 days, more than 100 mils. And this is Richmond's hotel. This is where they're staying, the Tigers. Been completely flooded this morning. So they actually had to move some of their weights. They had to move some cars and a few other things. So been put out by that a little bit, the Tigers. So it's not all sunbaking and just having drinks on the beach, Crawford.
Well, do you know what? Those 4-day breaks, it's good for them to get in the water and it'll keep them nice and fresh and rejuvenated. And watch out for the snakes. There's big snakes in Queensland, big pythons, so I wouldn't be wandering around in the water.
I certainly won't be doing that, Crawford. Let's have a look at the round so far, though, and it started all the way back, of course, on Thursday night with the Western Bulldogs and the Suns, and that was a great game.
Yeah, it was good to see Gold Coast put up a good fight, but the Dogs got the job done. The Giants, it was a hard-fought win. Toby Green on fire. The Blues, well done. North fought back quite well, but the Blues learnt from the week before. My disappointing Hawks, the Swans, with a lot of youngsters in the team. It was good to see. If you're a Sydney supporter, there's a lot of hope there. St Kilda, how good were they? 29 points over Port Adelaide. Essendon in a thriller at Adelaide Oval against the Crows. And West Coast, 66 points against Collingwood. Many are tipping Collingwood to win the premiership. And I tell you what, West Coast turned it on today and it was very, very impressive.
Let's take a look at that game today. As you mentioned, 66 points the margin. Now here is the score now. The Eagles, they're a little bit slow out of the blocks. It was almost like the grand final in that regard. They came home strong though. Josh Kennedy with 7 goals. Tim Kelly finally finding some form too with 30 touches and a goal himself, Crawford. Yeah,
absolutely. Kennedy 7 goals. Collingwood kicking 6 for the whole match. Started well and then obviously West Coast kicked into gear. Nat Nui up and about. Liam Ryan, a Mark of the Year contender. Kennedy, a big key forward, finally kicking a bag, and West Coast just seemed to be building really well. From a Collingwood point of view, Pendlebury pulled out virtually as the side was about to run out, so that would have thrown them around a bit. I just think they had a flat one. We know Collingwood are much better than that. I wouldn't stress about that. But West Coast is certainly coming, and a lot of people will be saying flag favourites now. I know we jump every week, depending on who has a good win, but they're certainly looking as a massive contender, especially now that they're in their own beds, playing on a ground that they know so well, and everything just seems to be falling in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, certainly very ominous performance there from the Eagles. But as you mentioned, no panic from Collingwood. This was coach Nathan Buckley after the match.
Oh, for us, we didn't get a lot right after quarter time. I commented in the box. We played our Washington Generals role really well today to the West Coast Globetrotters. That they looked like they grew in confidence and in in dare. They were really clean with everything they did, and we were the opposite. And that's an outlier performance for us as a team. It's an outlier performance for the games that we've seen throughout 2020. They've rarely been that one-sided. And it only happens when one team's right on and another team is right off.
Well, there was another match earlier today. It involved Essendon and Adelaide. It loomed as a danger game for the Bombers, missing, of course, several key names. The likes of Jake Stringer, Dylan Shield and Cale Hooker during the week got injured. The Bombers got up in a thriller by 3 points. Perhaps not the prettiest game, but they got the job done.
Yeah, but what I loved about this game is both sides tried to move the ball nice and quick. And from a Bombers' point of view, a lot of people are probably saying, oh, they needed to win by more, that's not good enough. But just get the 4 points. It's very tough going to the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide's form, if you look at their last half against St Kilda, they were very good, and there was a flow-on effect today. I thought they played a different style today where they really took the game on, had a lot of confidence. Good to see Tex Walker, doing well. Murphy with some goals. And Merritt and McGrath for the Bombers. You know, they're super players, get a lot of the footy, make great decisions, and all you need to do is keep chalking up wins. Don't forget they've got a game in hand up their sleeve, so the Bombers are beautifully placed. Just got to hopefully get a few of those key players back as the season goes on, and you just never know, but it was a very good win. They'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, 5-2 now, Essendon, not getting too far ahead of themselves. I wouldn't have thought, though, given they have beaten most of those sides further down the ladder. Of course, the Crows almost snatched it with Brodie Smith having that shot in the final minute. Must admit, a few fans would have had hearts in mouths there, but this was the coach, John Worsfold.
Yeah, look, to Adelaide's credit, they really took the game up to us in that second half when we felt as though we didn't have the game in control, but we dominated ball position in that first half. But they'd made sure that it didn't stay that way in the second half. They evened that part of the game up and kept the game really tight all the way through. Yeah. I mean, we lost the game by a matter of inches a few weeks ago. So really, it comes down to you want to get there. We know we've got work to do to continue working on our game, but with some of the changes we've had to make in the last few weeks, we've been really pleased with having players able to come in and help us win. So. That's a credit to the group, and we'll slowly get some players back over the next 3 or 4 weeks, which will strengthen our overall position. But we're confident in the guys that are out there for us at the moment.
That was John Worsfold after Essendon's 3-point win. Another club perhaps surprising a few people is St Kilda up to third after their big win over Port Adelaide, or their close win. It was a big win in terms of the context of their season. But it has come at a cost, I guess, during the week for Dan Hannebery, pushing to play in that game. He re-injured his hamstring today. He arrived back in Melbourne. He's bound for surgery. That'll keep him sidelined for at least 3 months, so you'd think his season is all but over. And, of course, he is on a massive deal there at the Saints. This was Dan Hannebery earlier today.
Yeah, it was pretty shattering. It was sort of basically the last session really I had to tick off till I was planning to play next week against Sydney, and pretty much the last drill really, so the back end of the 10k session, and up until that point the last couple of weeks leading in, I was hitting all the markers and training really well, and felt normal pretty much. So yeah, really frustrating. Still pretty raw right now, and had a good chat to the docs yesterday, and at this stage I think we're probably going to go and just get in there and fix it up and a little bit of surgery on I think hopefully later this week or at the latest early next week. So it's pretty shattering, but hopefully going forward that's the best option, and can get it right and hopefully get back to playing some good footy. As much as a lot of people will be doubting my ability to get back and consistently play week in, week out, I think I've still got some confidence there that given my last 18 months and some of the work that I have been able to get in, that I can get back and play some decent footy and hopefully string some consistent games together.
Dan Hannebery there, obviously really aware around the commentary of his contract at St Kilda. A year and a half into a 5-year deal, he's managed just 10 games. Croft, what do you make of that? I mean, do you think he's going to be able to get back and be the player that we know he can be?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the great thing about Dan Hannebery, even when he's not playing, he's a real sort of energy connector at the football club, a bit like Alex Rance was with the Richmond Football Club. Always puts a smile on your face. He loves a chat. He's got great experience on his side, so he's really important to the whole group, even when he's not playing football. So we wish him all the very best. Let's hope he can get back and get firing, and you just hope, if the Saints happen to sneak their way into a grand final and win, you just going to really feel for him if that's going to be the case. And at the moment, you just never know. They're playing some good football. They've got a lot of new players into the club, and the mix seems to be going beautifully for Brett Ratton and the mighty Saints at the moment.
Certainly is. Dan Butler, one of those, of course, from Richmond, really impressing for the Saints. But time now for your 4 points, Crawford. What's caught your eye this weekend?
Well, we're going big problem. The key forwards at the moment aren't having a massive impact. Josh Kennedy today kicked 7th, thank goodness for that. But Ben Brown, you've got Jack Revolt, you've got Bruce, you've also got Tom Lynch. A lot of the key forwards aren't having the impact that we know they can. The little beauties, go the little tackers in the AFL world. Tom Papperley, how good is he going? Toby Green, what a machine. And Charlie Cameron, plus there's many, many more. Throw Eddie Betts, they're all in there. It's great to have crowds back. It was great to have noise and the crowd really getting into some matches on the weekend at South Australia and Western Australia. So that was good to see. And the rucks, thank goodness for the big rucks. Normally we say get them out of the game, but we're saying it is awesome to have them back. You've got Gawn, Grundy, Witts. You saw Ryder and Marshall team really well. Nat Nui against the Pies. So it's great to see the really big men having a real say in the AFL game today. So it's so important to win the stoppages with reduced time. And the good thing is our ruck stocks at the moment, and there's a lot of promising ones coming through as well. It's making it for a great competition, even though there's a lot of people complain about the flow of the game. But it's good to see the big men are back.
Certainly is, Crawford. And I must admit, the footy this weekend, I did enjoy it. Most of the games, watched a few of them, North Melbourne, Carlton. Even the Essendon game was a bit of a scrap, but as you mentioned, both teams going for it, and then Collingwood and West Coast. But a bit of news out of the AFL this afternoon regarding your old mate Sean Burgoyne. Another tackle, this time involving Sydney's James Rowbottom. He copped a fine this time. It perhaps wasn't as severe as that one involving Patrick Dangerfield earlier in the year. Of course, the AFL changed the rules after that initial tackle. What did you make of this latest one, Crawford, and the fact he only copped the fine?
Oh, look, I thought it was just a good tackle. I don't think he deserved a fine, but if you go back to the one against Dangerfield, he deserved to be suspended. So, yeah, I just can't work it all out. I know they should have suspended him, not fined him for the first one. The second one I thought was just a good, strong tackle. And, yeah, that's what I've got to say on that. Unfortunately for the Hawks, they're in a bit of trouble at the moment. Alistair Clarkson, he's got to make some massive decisions this week on what he does from a side point of view. You know, you've got to introduce some youngsters now. Things haven't worked. He's stuck fat with the senior players for a long, long time, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. They tried hard, as he said, but I think now's the time to say thank you so much. You've been amazing, but we've got to make some changes and look towards the future with some of the young kids coming through. You've still got to have that balance right, but I reckon there'll be some real harsh calls come this week.
Are you talking specifically about Sean Burgoyne there, because he's obviously one of the elder statesmen and obviously the captain, Ben Stratton, too. We saw what happened with Jared Ruffhead last year. He sat out for much of the season before getting that farewell game. Has it got to that stage with someone like Burgoyne, do you think?
Oh, look, no, he's still got a place in the game, but that's what they're going to have to wrestle with this week is, you know, you've got some players who might not be there next year, and he's probably one of them. There's a few struggling for form. Stratton, who's obviously the captain, so that's a tough situation as well. But you've got to have players that can come in and play similar roles. So, look, he's been very, very loyal to those players. But I'll tell you what, Alistair Clarkson can make the tough decision. You know, he spoke to Luke Hodge and said, I don't think you can play much longer. So what happens? Luke Hodge pulls a pin and says, thank you very much, and then heads to play at the Brisbane Lions. The same with Sam Mitchell, who ends up at the West Coast Eagles. Jordan Lewis, who ends up in Melbourne. So anyone that thinks that he can't make a tough decision and have those tough conversations, he loves them. He's happy to meet them head on, and I reckon this week we should see some major changes for the Hawks, and we get a bit of a sneak peek at what their future might look like.
I think you went out on your own terms, Crawford. Did you have to have any hard combos with Clarko at the end there?
Oh, no, he definitely, yeah. No, there's no gifting games. Like, he hates gifting games. He likes you to try and earn them. But I think they're at a situation pretty much like when he started. And I had that conversation when he was first starting, saying, it's going to be tough. I've got to play some young kids. They're just not ready yet, but I've got to give them exposure to AFL football. It's a very different situation to the one the Hawks are in now. But, you know, like the Swans did on the weekend, and I thought they were fantastic. You look through their list and there's 5 or 6 players you've never really heard of before, and they all came in, they played their role, they took the game on, they were brave when they had the footy. They showed great courage and some good skill and great enthusiasm, and they chalked up a win. So I think Hawthorn are at that situation where we've got to find out about some youngsters moving forward, and there's no better way to find out than throwing them into the deep end and seeing if they can sink or they can swim.
Well, thanks for chatting about the Hawks again. I know you tried to scrub that segment from the rundown, Crawford, after talking about them.
Please, can we just win some games and not talk about the Hawks for 1 week?
Well, let's get on to the Sunday roast now. Hopefully some safer territory for you, or is it?
Undisciplined acts, it's not good enough. We saw Frawley, 2 goals to Papley. Papley kicks a goal, then gives away a free kick. We see Pittard with North Melbourne when his team were going to have a shot for goal at a crucial time. Like, you just can't do it. I know you get I know you get angry. I know you get fired up. You want to stand up for your teammates and your team, but you've got to do it in the right manner. It deflates the team. It deflates the midfielders. It deflates the defenders, especially when there's not a lot of goals being kicked. So those undisciplined acts, they kill you. And unfortunately on the weekend, in a couple of really close matches, it's extremely deflating to both sides. You know, Hawthorn and also North Melbourne. So not good enough. Get angry, get frustrated, but do not give away a free kick, especially when they result in goals.
Yeah, Tom Papley, he wasn't here, pest the other night.
Yeah, but you know what? I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. Good on him, playing on the edge. And there's, look, if you look at Hawthorn at the moment, and once again I'm talking about Hawthorn, but you've got to have, you know, energy bunnies running around. You know, you've got to have players who are firing up the opposition, stirring up your team. You see how good of a celebrator of a goal is Tom Papley. You've got to love that. And do you know what it does? It excites his teammates. And it excites the crowd, and they all start to get into it, and they lift. So I love that. I love guys that celebrate. I love guys that get in there and fire up, and that's what it's all about, because at the end of the day, that's your livelihood. Get out there and fight for your life. And at the moment, Tom Papley, he's clearly one of the best small forwards in the land, and you can see why Carlton were chasing him, and that's probably why they'll try and get him next year.
He's going to be an expensive pickup if they try and get him again, that's for sure. But we move on. There is a game, of course, underway between Melbourne and the Brisbane Lions. The Lions up by 18 points as we speak late in the third quarter. How's your boy Petrarca going, Crawford? I know you've been recording the show. You probably haven't seen, but you've been all over him, so you should know.
No, last time I looked, he was at 18 possessions. It's not about possessions, it's about impact. And don't you worry, Christian Petrarca's having a real impact on this year, and I'd be very surprised if he's not in everyone's top 5 players. He's my number 1 at the moment. But he's a superstar, don't you worry about that.
Well, that will be a big result for Brisbane. Potentially moves them up equal on top of the ladder should they get the job done against the Demons. Well, as part of our partnership with AIA Vitality, we get to talk to some of the elite athletes from around the world. And given the Tokyo Olympics would be underway, we thought it only fitting to talk to Australian pole vaulting champion, a gold medalist back in 2008, Steve Hooker. Steve, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It looks like Wardrobe didn't get the memo. Cool.
No, we're in the same kit. So there you go. Hey, Sunday night you want to kick back and relax. So, Ayrton, you need to take note, mate. No more jacket, no more shirt. Get in your pyjamas. Sunday night, let's have a bit of a wrap.
Oh, I've been in the boardies all day, Shane, so I thought I'd better smarten up for the show.
Hey, can I tell you, you're looking very tan, so you're obviously having a great time up on the Gold Coast. But, Steve, thanks for joining us. You are an absolute superstar, gold medalist, 2008 Beijing Olympics, pole vault. Now, when I think about it, at the time, you pretty much are the fittest and best athlete in the world, because when it comes to pole vaulting, you need to be flexible, you need courage, you need speed, great agility, and that was pretty much the case with you. And you're trying to go 6 metres in the sky. Why on earth did you choose pole vaulting?
Oh, very, very generous introduction there, Crawf. Look, I think it worked for me because I'm not the most physically talented athlete. Like, if you put me in a 100-metre sprint, I'm very average. So I needed to find an event that had a technical component that I could figure out, and I like that. That's what I really love about the event. I love the challenge of it. And, yeah, just figuring it out over the years, and eventually I was able to figure it out pretty good.
Now, just for the record, when you say you were pretty average if you went in the 100-metre dash, so what was your very best in that event?
10.6.
Yeah, see, that's not normal. 10.6, and you're saying that's not really your event. But no, I can remember those Olympics. I can remember you winning that gold medal, and that was absolutely inspiring. It really was. And there's nothing better than seeing an athlete take on the world and dominate, especially coming from Australia. So that's something that is very, very cherished. So what do you actually do with the medal? Do you put that in a museum somewhere? Is it with your mum or dad, or do you have it locked away in a cupboard somewhere?
Yeah, it's just at home with me. Like, I have it around. I think one of the amazing things about going to the games is you're representing Australia. And for me, one of my most enjoyable things is sharing the medal with people. So whenever I get an opportunity to have someone wear it around there, I like to give that to them. And so I keep it pretty handy so that I can share it around.
Now, this year I've been having a bit of a kick of the football with you, which I heard that you could play okay, and I got told that because you played in a dad's match, or a dad's primary school match last year. Yes. And you dominated. And I thought, you know what, might be a good little recruit for me coaching in the country. So you've come along, you've had a kick, you've been dominating, it's been a lot of fun. The disappointing thing is we can't come together on the weekend and just have some time where you can get out there and kick the footy and have a run around. So what are you doing now? I know you've got some young kids. How do you keep active? How do you actually keep sane when you're locked away, especially in these hard times?
Yeah, I've loved the Sunday morning kicks. It's something that's kept me really motivated throughout the year, is sort of staying in shape so I can run around and keep up with you guys. Right now, for me, yeah, like focusing on family, making sure I'm giving enough time to the kids and keeping them sane while they're sort of cooped up in the house. But then for each day, I kind of try and take 45 minutes where I can do exercise. I generally take it at lunchtime because I sort of wake up, look after the kids, and then I'm straight into work. So 45 minutes at lunchtime, I'll either go for a run and do some sprints, jump in the gym and do a bit of a lift, or sit on a stationary bike or something. So 45 minutes a day, and then try and get in a few extra steps at the end of the day, just so that I've moved enough throughout the day. And yeah, often I'm doing that one with our baby Jackson, who's 9 months old, just to give my wife Carter a bit of a hand at the end of the day, because it's a long day with 3 kids under one roof.
Steve, when you're back in your prime, I imagine you'd be absolutely trained to the minute. How much do you feel for the athletes and what they're going through now, given that we would have been in the middle of Olympics right as we speak?
Yeah, I should be in Tokyo eating ramen now, and there should be a lot of athletes over there competing. It's tough. It's really, really tough, but it's part of the process. So, you know, the athletes that are going to do well are the ones that embrace this time, that take this time to, you know, maybe look after their bodies a bit, heal some injuries, work on technique or teamwork or whatever it might be, work on those things that are going to make a difference in a year's time, and focus on the positives. There's going to be a lot of unknowns between now and a year's time, and it's the people that can live with those unknowns and still make the most of every day are the ones that are going to really thrive. And I still believe there'll be incredible performances in a year's time when we get to games time, because no matter what the prelude has been, the Olympic Games always brings out something special in people. So we'll see amazing performances from our Australian athletes, but also the athletes from all over the world as they come together.
And what about AFL football? Who do you barrack for, and what do you love about the game?
Well, I barrack for the Blues. So what I love about the game right now is we're looking pretty good. Well, specifically, I love our back line. I just reckon they're amazing right now. They're becoming a really good unit, and I feel like we're never going to get too blown out of the water. So it's good having them back there. I love about the game, I don't know, it's just part of Melbourne life. I love this city, and AFL is such a huge part of it. I love the chat that comes with footy. And yeah, I like that everyone can have a go of it. I love going out and having a kick of the footy with my kids. So it's just always been part of my life. I always grew up with it, and I'm just very, very happy to see the Blues going well this year.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for your time. Just before we go, what's Crawford been like as a coach in the brief time that you've spent with him?
I haven't coached him at all. He's coached me. Don't you worry about that.
He's been good. No, I enjoyed it. I really enjoy like the thinking. Like I love learning and love getting feedback, and always did as an athlete. So to be able to run around with someone with Crawford's credentials has been really fun. So I've enjoyed it a lot, and hopefully we can get back to it soon. But until then, I hope everyone in Melbourne who's in some difficult circumstances just stay safe and looks after themselves, and we'll all be out of it before you know it.
Well, thanks very much for your time. So to you, Shane. Thanks again. Good to see you again. And that's all we have here on Full Time. Thanks again to AIA Vitality.